Okay, this is the regular meeting of the Recreation and Parks Commission for the City of Redondo Beach. And would you like to roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Deckman?
Here.
Commissioner Yosef Sai?
Here.
Commissioner Corman-Super?
Here.
Chair Lang?
Here.
And I just would like to note the absences of Commissioner McCauley, Blair, and Rowe. So we do have a quorum for tonight.
Okay, great. If we can all rise to salute the flag. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On to D, which is approve order of agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And on to blue folder items.
Yeah, I just want to note that we do have one blue folder item that was sent over to the commission about 2 to 3 hours ago. So sorry for the late notice on that. It is part of item J2, and I'll go into more detail when we get to that item, but it's essentially the administrative report from the city council meetings, last night's city council meeting regarding the ordinance changes for cancellation of commission meetings. And again, I'll go into more detail of what the contents of that was. But if I can have a motion to receive and file that item now, that would be great.
Motion to receive and file.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, who was the second? Okay, great, thank you.
And then we have the affidavit of posting.
Well, we actually have the full consent calendar.
Oh, I'm
which-
sorry. I missed
No,
that one.
you're fine.
Okay. And so do we have to move for the approval of minutes or? how would we-
So yeah, we do have two actually, sorry, let me start over. We have two items on the consent calendar. If anyone would like to discuss any of the items, which includes the affidavit of posting or there's 3 sets of minutes on here, we would, one of you would pull that item, we would have that discussion. Any items left on the consent calendar would then be approved with a single motion.
Okay,
But if no one wants to pull anything, we can just do a motion to approve all the items on the consent calendar.
okay. Would anyone like to pull anything from the consent calendar?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar items.
Okay. All in favor? Or wait, I need a second.
I'll second.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we don't have any excluded consent calendar items, so on to H, which would be public participation on non-agenda items.
We don't have anyone online right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty. On to I, which is items continued from previous agendas, which we don't have any, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And J, items for discussion prior to action. And J1, we have receive and file volunteer and employee acknowledgement certificate for Judy Roboletto in recognition of her work to support the Dominguez Park Dog Park.
Yeah, so I'll just provide a very brief staff report on this. As you stated, Chair, we are here tonight to present another award. So the commission a few months ago did review a nomination form for Judy Roboletto for her volunteer service at the Dominguez Park Dog Park. You all approved that nomination, and so here tonight, we would like to officially provide Judy with her certificate as well as her surfboard memorial plaque. And so with that, I'll turn it over to you, Chair, and then after, if we can, I would like to take a photo up front with you all, with Judy. So I'll turn it over to you.
Great. And I just wrote something for her. So it says, on behalf of the Recreation and Parks Commission, we would like to take a moment to recognize Judy Rubeletto for her outstanding volunteer work at the Redondo Beach Dog Park. Judy, your dedication and hard work have made a tremendous difference, creating a wonderful space for our community and our community's dogs to enjoy. It's because of volunteers like you that we can enjoy special amenities in our city. Your commitment is a shining example of the positive impact one person can have. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you. That's really nice.
Yeah, so, and Judy, here also is your.
Oh my goodness. Here, you can hold that.
You can go more in the middle of the picture.
I'll just go through and get this honest. Oh, I thought it was.
Oh, I think you do it the other way so that it stands up. So if you put it like that, and then you can stand it up on a desk. Yeah.
Should we come down or should we?
Stay here.
You could probably, if you
Or just stand up.
stand, then we can, yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Let me tell you one word of wisdom that I learned as in my years at the dog park, is that just because the dog is standing next to you and it goes to the bathroom, it doesn't mean that you have to pick it up because it might not be your dog.
How many times have you been told that?
You didn't want to know. Have a record picture. No, you must have been here. It's up what it says.
Okay, so thank you, Judy. We really appreciate all your hard work at the park. So Commission, if I can just have you receive and file the certificate, that would be great.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
you have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On to J2, which is discussion and possible response to City Council's action regarding proposed consolidation of the Recreation and Parks Commission with the Historical Preservation and Library Commission. And discussion and possible response regarding the proposed amendment to the Redondo Beach Municipal Code Title II, Chapter 9, Article 1, Section 2-9.101 to implement a process for the cancellation of commission meetings.
All right, so I'll just I'll keep it as brief as possible, but I want to make sure you guys have all the information you need just to introduce this item. So at the end of the last meeting, I did give you all a heads up that the council was considering a consolidation of a number of commissions. And one of those was the consolidation of this commission, the Recreation and Parks Commission, with the Historical, Preservation, and Library Commissions. And so before the council moves forward to take that action, they wanted to get the input from all of the affected commissions. Included in the report is information that outlines the impetus for this, why this was moved forward and recommended by the mayor, or proposed, I should say. And there are a number of reasons for it, such as the fact that there are some boards and commissions that are having trouble filling vacancies. Some boards and commissions also don't have quite enough discussion items to fill an agenda, so often they meet with no actionable items, which I know our commission has experienced a few times in the past. And I'll kind of touch upon that when I go through some of the attachments here, but what's included in your report is the administrative report, the comprehensive administrative report that outlines the full consolidation proposal for all of the boards and commissions. I did take a snapshot of the section in the report that is specific to the consolidation for this commission, just so you can at least pull that information for tonight's discussion. And then the second part to this item is the fact that currently in the city's ordinance, or excuse me, the municipal code, there is nothing that allows commissions to cancel meetings. So every commission has a designated meeting date. This one is the second Wednesday of every month. So there's an expectation that this commission will meet the second Wednesday, and anything that deviates from that is considered a special meeting. What was proposed is that there would be some amendments made to the municipal code that would allow the cancellation of meetings by the commissions themselves at the meeting prior. So for example, if our July tentative agenda was very light, I would inform you all and you guys could decide, is it worth meeting or should we just skip July and come back in August? As long as there's a formal motion to do so, that could move forward and that meeting would be canceled. But that's the only way that meetings could be canceled by the commissions. The blue folder item that was included today is that the second part, so the cancellation of meetings, the city council has already taken formal action on that. They did so last night through a second reading of some red line ordinance changes that do add those updates to that policy. So exactly how I just described is what was approved. There's a 30-day window for that, so we can't necessarily put that into action just yet, but that is moving forward. So for tonight's discussion, I really just want to focus you all on just the consolidation piece, since the council has already taken action on the meeting cancellation part of it. So I'm just going to briefly go through some of the attachments just to make sure that the information that was shared is helpful for you all. And so the first one is the administrative report that I discussed. That was from May 7th. That was the date that this was proposed by the mayor to the city council and for them to then send it to the commissions. So that includes the comprehensive analysis of the issue, the recommendations, and hopefully that information was helpful. The second attachment is, let me just pull it up on my side so I make sure I don't miss any details. Within the municipal code is information that outlines the roles and the responsibilities for each commission. So I pulled the information for all 4 of the commissions that are being considered to be consolidated with this commission. Well, the other 3, I should say, including this one, just so you can see what the powers and duties are, as well as the membership. And I included the membership because some commissions have to be very defined who their members are, and they have to basically fill certain seats based on certain qualifications. Not every commission or board is that way, but some of them do. So I included that information there for you, just so you can kind of see how each commission is made up of their members. The second attachment, sorry about that, hold on one moment. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the council staff report, excuse me. The second attachment that you have is for the meeting summary. So I went back and looked at purely from an outsider's perspective. So some of this information is very high level. I don't even know what kind of the level of discussion some of these items are, but I took a snapshot of all of the agenda titles for discussion items for all 4 commissions. And then I did a timestamp to see how long the meetings lasted. That number, I do just want to mention, that number isn't necessarily telling of the depth of discussions that were had. It's just more so you can kind of get an idea of just how long the commissions meet and and how long their meetings are lasting depending on their agenda topics. And so I included that for each of the 4 commissions, just so you can really get a very, very high level look at what their agendas have looked like for the last fiscal year, at least up through May of this year. So of course, this does not include June. And then the third attachment, you don't need to worry about. That is the one that has the red line of the proposed changes to the municipal code. So you, again, don't need to worry about it. I do just want to say that the red lines that were provided by the mayor in May, the language is different in what was adopted last night, but the intent behind it is the same. The final recommendation does not deviate from allowing the commissions to cancel the meetings at the meeting prior, just the language itself did change. So just want to mention that. And then the final attachment before I get to the blue folder item is an email that was sent from our chair, Chair Lang, to the mayor following review of the council's discussion. And so this just really outlines her thoughts and discussion on the topic. And then the blue folder item, as I stated, is really just for informational purposes for you. Don't need any input from you guys on this, but this just shows the administrative report that was included on last night's council meeting, as well as the ordinance changes for the red lines for the cancellation of meetings. So again, that's just informational for you. So really tonight, I'm just looking for some input from you all on the consolidation of the commissions that were mentioned. There's several ways that the commission can go about sharing this input to the council, and I will leave it up to you guys to decide your preferred method of doing that. I would recommend, though, that it be in the form of a letter, and that there's different ways that that can happen. You all can either elect someone tonight to draft the letter, and we can bring it back at next month's meeting. That does eat away at a little bit of time, which kind of cuts into the time that council needs to really analyze this in time for the next cycle of filling vacancies on boards and commissions. The second option is that you can still do a letter. You can still elect someone on here to help draft it, but I would also be assigned to help draft it. And so together we can draft it and make sure that the intent and the spirit of what the commission was trying to address is included. We can then forward it over to the council as soon as it's ready, which would be before the next commission meeting. So that would be the more expedited option. Happy to do either one. Just let me know what you prefer. And so thanks for bearing with me. I know that was a lot of information, but that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
I actually have a couple questions, and I'll just start with this. Have we heard any feedback from the other commissions? I know some of them have vacancies, so I'm not quite sure the extent of the vacancies presently on the other three commissions. And just so I'm aware as well, I think originally when we spoke, when this was mentioned, it was a consolidation of two commissions, our commission and the Historical Preservation Commission. Now they're proposing consolidating 4 commissions into one commission.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a miscommunication on my part with that, but it has always been, as outlined in the May 4th staff report, the consolidation of the 4 commissions into one. So it was never 2 of them. I think if I recall at the end of the last meeting when I mentioned that this was an upcoming discussion, there was a little bit of discussion about it. And if I remember correctly, there was a comment or two that maybe it makes sense to consolidate only 2 of them. But on the council side and on the mayor's proposal, it was the 4 commissions that would be consolidated.
Okay, and then a second question that I have to that is, obviously, they had an entire council meeting on this. We can't get every detail point from that for the sake of this meeting. But as I'm reading the admin report as well, I think one of the things we talked about was staffing time and cost associated with that, but it stated that there was no fiscal impact on the admin report. So I just want to make sure that we're going to take a position based on kind of what we discussed previously, because if it's fiscal related or staff related, we want to make an educated proposal based upon that. Because now it sounds like it's just, we can't get volunteers for the different commissions. So let's just put them into one, as opposed to a real detailed how much admin time is how much staff time is being allocated towards this.
Sure. Can I ask which report are you referencing that says there would be no fiscal impact?
Was it on the blue folder item, J2, I think?
Oh, I think that was for the ordinance, though, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. So that mention of no fiscal impact is specific to the fact that meetings
To the change
could
of
be
the
canceled.
ordinance? Okay.
Yeah. That didn't touch upon the consolidation.
Okay. Do we have any information pertaining to fiscal impact regarding?
Yeah, so in the May 4th council report, which I believe is May 7th, I keep saying the 4th, it's May 7th. It does say towards the end, there's a fiscal impact section, and it does state $53,100 per year would be saved by the city if all of the recommended consolidations. So that is not itemized for just the consolidation of the 4 commissions. So I don't know I can't
genesis of-
quantify.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but that would be for the whole proposal.
And I ask this because anytime, especially like, I deal with municipal government professionally every single day. So anytime someone makes a proposal which is based upon fiscal impact, we always try to see substantiation for that. So is it specific staff that are allocated towards this? Obviously, just you coming to the meetings, it takes, staff time, it costs the city. But I just want to see if there is some available detail breakdown on that. So
On the staff resources that
are allocated towards this.
Yeah, I don't know in here. I think it's touched upon in the report, but don't quote me on that. But I know just based on being the liaison for the commission, it's as you stated, our staff time to be here, as well as our IT department to manage and run the equipment.
Sure.
Our city clerk's office also has to my knowledge, be available to at least get the meeting rolling. And so obviously staying a little bit later for that. And to your point too, just preparing the agendas ahead of time can be time consuming depending on the length of the agenda. So I'll see if there's more details in the report about it, but that's ultimately where those staff resources are allocated.
I think I remember them in his report. He put together slides for the city council, and he did, I think, break down, but just exactly what you said.
Okay.
I have a question on the Preservation Commission. There's requirements for the commissioners to have certain background or experience, and it needs to have 3 members with that. So would that continue? You would need 3 members with that experience for the combined commission?
Potentially. Some commissions have that as a finite requirement that is beyond our control. Other commissions just have it because it's a policy of the city. So I don't know. I think the only one that has it for the commissions that are in our consolidation is the preservation, I believe. I think that's the only one that has that extra requirement on it. I should also say that every commission, well, I shouldn't say every, but I know that at least our commission, there is I don't know if it's a definitive policy or just a desire to have a good representation of all of the districts, which doesn't necessarily go to qualifications, but it limits who can fill vacancies depending on the districts that you have. So obviously there's 5 districts, 7 seats, so there's some flexibility there, but those would really be the only 2 kind of restrictions that I'm aware of.
I think to Commissioner Deckman's point, though, if one commission has specific qualifications and you're trying to consolidate it, are those qualifications going to remain? Hence, does the qualifications for this entire commission, the consolidation, does it go through, what we were discussing? What was the commission that you had mentioned?
Preservation.
For the Preservation Commission. So does the new consolidated commission need to have the qualifications that the Preservation Commission has currently? I think these are some things that.
Yeah. It would need to. What I'm just not aware of at the moment is whether those qualifications are a policy decision of the city and there's flexibility to make that maybe from 3 to 2 or 3 to 1, or if that's a much larger policy, either statewide or even countywide, depending on where that comes from, whether we have any jurisdiction over changing that. I'm unfamiliar with that at the moment.
So I have a secondary question to that. If it's a requisite requirement and that is removed by consolidating, how efficient is having that commission in the first place if you don't have the qualifications to represent on that commission? Does that make sense? If it's like if it's required by state or if it's a matter of policy for the city and we're consolidating it, would the city just amend its policy to say we'll now take away a qualification that's probably been standing for quite a bit of time? like, I'm trying to understand, like, we're consolidating well, again, they already made their decisions on it, but you're consolidating a lot of different areas within municipal government. And I know this, again, I professionally work with municipal governments. These, again, when it was 2, it was a little bit different, or and maybe I misunderstood that. I thought it was a consolidation of 2 commissions. Consolidating 4 commissions with each having a 7-member roster into assuming 1 commission that has a 7-member roster, and perhaps requiring 3 people to have special backgrounds that tie out to the Preservation Commission, it gets a little bit more restrictive of who can participate with it. I mean, it's making ultimately volunteering on the commissions, you have a lot more say into different avenues within, city business. So,
Jim did include examples of like Hermosa, I think in Manhattan Beach, and they had like 3 commissions to our, how many we had, like 8 or something like that. And so they broke them down, and I can't remember what he had on his slides, but they didn't have a preservation commission. So whatever business was being taken care of, and I guess what we could do is look at, their commissions and their requirements for their commissions, and see if they have any requirements of those commissions to have these preservation requirements, I guess. I mean, I don't know if, I understand what you're asking, or what you mentioned about if it's like a state requirement or something outside of our jurisdiction. But if other cities don't have a preservation commission, or it's folded in and they don't have these requirements, it seems as though we would have the flexibility to dissolve it or absorb it into.
Possibly. Some commissions may have been developed because the city took action on something else that then prompted them to need that commission. And the preservation may be one. I don't want to speak too much into it because I really don't know. I don't want to give you the wrong information, but my understanding is that they have very specific tasks that they are assigned to for historical appropriations throughout the city. And at some point or another, I'm assuming that that was required of the city based on some sort of other historical action that the city took, whether it was designating a certain property something and then allowing the city to become kind of a overarching advisory group on that. I don't want to make assumptions, but to your point, I don't think it's necessarily an apples to apples comparison, unfortunately, with every city, because I believe some commissions were developed specific for every city based on other kind of qualifying projects.
Got it.
So just historically, just because I'm terming out in October and I've been here for a number of years, I can't speak to library or preservation. I really should know more about it, but I don't. But in terms of historical, I feel like throughout the years, there have been numerous projects that we've worked hand in hand with them on, and sometimes things couldn't move forward with their commission without our approval. So it seems to me that it would be beneficial for both commissions for sort of Rec and Parks to absorb that commission and sort of house the important work they do, because it would also give our commission more agenda items. I feel like, they, oftentimes would sort of, things would get delayed because they'd be waiting for us to have our meetings, and, there was the signs and the Edo parquet and all of these things. So I do see how that's already sort of been a partnership. And I don't know if they're one of the commissions having a hard time with quorum or filling vacancies, but if they are, I can see how, when I'm termed out and another commissioner is timed out, maybe it would work out to combine those two. Maybe there just needs to be sort of some middle ground. I don't know, but I definitely, it's just a little bit concerning and a little bit weird to me that we've never even had any interaction with library or preservation, not in the 8 years I've been here, to all of a sudden sort of be in partnership.
I thought that in the, sorry to cut you off.
No.
I was just going to say that I thought in the city council meeting, they were kicking around the idea of, if we don't consolidate 4, then, because it doesn't make sense, what other commissions should kind of go hand in hand. I thought they were talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, they're open to any kind of,
And I can't remember which ones.
I don't remember. And it also reminded me too, that part of the recommendation is that with this consolidation of these 4 commissions, the consolidated commission would be renamed the Public Amenities Commission. So I think that's an important distinction because, and something that I really want the commission to consider as well. Does that really tell the story of what these combined commissions would be doing? And if there is any insight into what the name should be, that's part of the input that would be helpful to share with the council as well.
I mean, public amenities sounds so generic.
Yeah.
To me,
It's
like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I don't even know what that
honest.
means.
And I guess, what I think is the Recreation and Parks Commission should have more agenda items because there's a lot going on in the city as it relates to our recreation and parks. And I think I've only been around since October, but my impression is there's a lot of work going on between the staff, city staff and council directly on recreation and park items that aren't even coming to the commission for input. And so it's kind of like, and when I was listening to the city council meeting on this topic, I heard the comment of, well, a good way for a project to die is to send it to the commission, which surprised me because I thought, well, why would they send it? If they didn't want to send it to the commission, then why do we exist, I guess, was my impression. And then, why do items bypass commissions and go directly to council? So I guess my impression, maybe it's not politically correct to say so, but I'll say it anyways, is that do you really want the commission feedback on things, or does the city council just want to make the decisions without the commission feedback? That's my impression from being here for a short period of time, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, I think it's,
We've all felt that way.
yeah, I think
some
it's,
point,
I think that in my experience, we have gotten quite a bit done. You have to be very aggressive about it and not just wait for stuff to hit the floor. And if commissioners aren't super aggressive and watching things coming down the pipeline or have ideas of their own that they want to get off of the ground, they're largely not very useful. But ours historically has been way more useful and helpful and active than many of the commissions, I can say. So I think we have actually a really super successful track record in comparison. So that's why I would hate to see this commission get swept under some sort of generic, term, because I do think we do important work. And I think that it's not that the other commissions don't, but because we haven't really had significant quorum or vacancy issues, I think that it makes sense for the commissions that are having those issues to sort of
Advocate for consolidation.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
and again, 4 seems like a lot to me, but
It's a lot, yeah.
yeah.
Kelly, are all these commissions under the purview of the Community Services Department?
No.
So we're consolidating across departments too?
Potentially.
Okay, so
And,
there-
and,
I mean-
and on staff side, logistically, there's a question there of how would that work? I'm sure there's a way, but that would be kind of a new rollout of how these could function. The only ones that are part of the Community Services Department in this compilation is the Parks and Rec, obviously, and then the Historical Commission. The preservation is with Community Development, and library, obviously, is with Library Services.
So for the commission, we're now talking about consolidating amongst 3 different city departments.
Potentially,
To
yes.
put together an agenda for, again,
Well, my understanding, and again, this is very high level, nothing's been put in place, so no one really knows exactly how it'll function, is that there would be obviously one staff liaison who would be the point person, and obviously they would have to coordinate depending on the topic and the discussion item with the affected departments. So I don't know that it necessarily would be 3 staff liaisons for each, trying to kind of battle it out for the agenda. I think there'd still be one point person, but to your point, yes, it would still take almost the same amount of staff time from each department in a way.
That's exactly the
For the
point.
preparation side.
Well, okay, so let me ask this as well. So if this crosses over multiple city departments, like if you were to stay, like for instance, if you were to remain the liaison for this new, what is it, City Amenities Commission or whatever it's proposed, do you feel you would be adequately able to discuss matters from departments that you don't, work for specifically?
No, I mean, if there's a preservation item,
What are
that's
we
beyond
talking
yeah. So in those cases, if there is an agenda topic, someone from the community development department. But if there is nothing on the agenda, they wouldn't need to come to the meeting. So that's where you would find those savings. I just don't know the frequency of when those pockets would be there.
But you're still using more city staff for the meetings. I mean, you're having less frequent meetings by consolidation, but you might be using multiple employees for one meeting as opposed to, spreading it out per commission. I mean, I understand the optics of the cost savings with it, but again, I think just in general, like I personally have several concerns about it because again, like if everything fell under, let's say, the purview of community services, you work in the community services department, the different departments a little bit, it's a little bit easier. Typically it's run by one director or deputy director. You have availability to speak to, different people that work under, that department. When it starts to cross over to other municipal departments, some of which you don't have a day-to-day working relationship with, to consolidate items for one commission that has now 4 commissions consolidated in one seems like an inefficient use of your time. And just in general, again, I always try to look at the fiscal impact of stuff just because professionally speaking, that's what I look at when it comes to municipal government. But I also think that, is it super efficient to now involve multiple city staff members across multiple departments to prepare an agenda for a consolidated commission? Okay, I promise I'll stop talking about this.
It's okay. You can. I previously spoke to Kelly a little bit, and I watched the video, and I put my thoughts on paper. So I'm not contributing as much, but I think that you're covering a lot of the points that I was concerned with after initially watching the video. In my little outline, I did bring up my concern over the use of staff hours efficiently and how it would impact our, recreation parks, staff liaisons and the other ones, I guess. So I appreciate you bringing these up, and I think it's an important discussion. And I do hope that we're able to put all these points down in a letter and send it up to council, because I think we've able to look at this possible plan from a unique angle.
Yeah, and to your point of the staff time that's allocated in the preparation, but also in the meetings, consolidating some of the agendas. I know it's not as simple as just looking at all of the May meetings and adding all of those into one agenda and adding how much time that would be, but the length of the meetings would obviously be extended. And so there's also that consideration of, the longer meetings go, it's harder to have more thoughtful conversations. And also there's, you all are volunteers. And so that should be another part of the consideration, is the meetings will most definitely get longer.
Yeah,
and is there capacity for that, to have those more fruitful conversations? I think if you look at the way the agendas are laid out on here, I think it's subjective, but I think arguably, there is room to combine them based on the agenda topics. But then you also have to add the dynamic of, you may now have a Parks and Rec commissioner who hears something new and exciting about a historical preservation item, and that's going to add more to that discussion, which would make it last longer. And so, it's just adding more dynamics to the discussions. And
Yeah, I've previously said this to Commissioner Barrett about the length of council meetings. I've professionally watched hundreds of hours of council meetings, and I think the city of Redondo Beach has amongst the longest council meetings I've ever seen for any of the municipal government clients that I've worked with throughout my career. And my hope is that these volunteer commissions don't turn into, long commission meetings as well. But, we average, perhaps an hour, a little bit more than that sometimes. If you add 4 different subjects or 4 different, areas, I mean, if they have concerns about having volunteers right now for the other commissions, again, we want to, I don't know. I think I kind of have my own personal feelings about, consolidating 4 commissions. 2 commissions I can understand, but now we're talking about, again, across departments, across a lot of different avenues. Okay, so I'll move off that point. My next thing is that for this letter, do we need to have a uniform kind of approach to what we want to say? Like if we're for this or against this, obviously, typically in the past, we've opened subcommittees for this, but we don't probably want to go ahead and do that because we're on a time crunch with it. Obviously, this is directed to our chair, but for the sake of moving this item along, do we want to come to some type of direction with it for this meeting? And then, if someone wants to draft a letter, we can draft it in accordance to what the direction's given. Is that probably what we need to do?
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. And considering the fact that we wouldn't develop a subcommittee unless you all wanted to, but it sounds like we don't need to do that. But I can work with whoever is assigned to do that, just so that the commission feels comfortable that it's not just one voice. It's a collective, 2 people that were involved in the conversation can help develop this letter. And it would be shared with you all after it's sent to the council. But I think we can do that pretty efficiently and get that letter sent out. But for tonight, it would be helpful if someone can kind of encapsulate the general kind of thoughts with this. And we would, of course, go back and listen to the full discussion to make sure we hit some highlights to kind of dive into that more. But yeah, it sounds like everyone's on the same page, but it would be nice before we finish this item to get a general direction.
Would it be possible to recommend that we combine with historical only?
I was just going to suggest that
Okay.
we're not stuck to this 4 and that's it. If you have an alternate recommendation,
Okay.
by all means, we can include that.
If
Definitely.
we did that, could we keep the Recreation and Parks name?
That could be part of your input, that all of
Okay.
this is part of your, you could, and you can change the name if you want to, even from
Okay.
Parks and Rec, it could be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I would, I would think that making a recommendation would be useful and exude confidence with the discussion and how we feel about the discussion that we've had, right? Like, we've had a thorough discussion, we've thought about it. We've acknowledged what we think might work and feel strongly about what we think wouldn't work. And then this is our recommendation, ultimately, in light of the spirit of reducing staff time. And I agree that we see how much time it takes both of you. And it makes sense to try and cut staff hours, unnecessary staff hours, where we can.
I think it's really compelling to put in the letter that to combine with a commission that falls under the umbrella of community services. Like, I feel like that's really a compelling
Right.
part of that. And then just that, we've partnered with them before. We know, we've, worked together on projects in the past, and that it makes sense to, I just think conceding that and doing that and, to me, that's a good kind of middle of the road suggestion. And, it gives us a little bit of leverage, I feel.
I would agree with that. I mean, I'm not opposed to consolidating, and that's what I was saying. Like, one commission, I can understand if there's staffing deficiencies or there's a lack of volunteer. I can understand that. But when you're crossing multiple departments, it's just the administrative work to even bring the agenda together. Like, staff having interdepartmental meetings to try to, put together items to make it to a consolidated commission. I mean, again, I'm saying this from experience working in municipal government. It would be a nightmare if you had 3 or 4 different city departments trying to put together stuff. I mean, I know a lot of that runs with how council meetings are run, but for a regular commission like this, I mean, you're going to add more administrative work just to bring these meetings to fruition. So I would agree with the point of maybe consolidating the historical commission if it falls under the purview of the community services department. That way, that truly wouldn't be an additional administrative burden upon our staff liaison and other staff liaisons, right? If you want to consolidate, at least make it the point to consolidate within the same city department.
Yeah, and to your point too, the thought just entered my mind that through the ordinance change and the availability now of being able to cancel meetings there will be savings there already. So, there would have been 2 or 3 meetings this fiscal year that we would not have had to have been here for had that ordinance been in place. So, and that's a savings across the board with IT, our team as well. So there's already going to be savings that are felt even without consolidating anything, just by that ordinance change.
Okay, so I think based on our discussion, I think we all kind of have like points to probably include. I think we're pretty close unless anybody has.
No, I think we've covered like the things that I was concerned about separately. We've gone over them. I did write some things down. I mean, if we're gonna elect someone to draft this, I think you should do it.
I'm on one tonight, so for sure.
Well, I just think that, when sort of talking through the staff hours was a really good point, and I think you articulated it really well. And I don't know if anyone wants to go look at the things that I included in my note to the mayor, and if there's anything on here that we want to include. Otherwise, I think what we covered right now will be like sufficient.
I'll do it.
So do you think, should we go over a little bit, like encapsulate, like you said, what we talked about and then nominate him? Or like what's the process, do you think?
It's however you all want to do it. I mean, it does seem to me that you all are in agreeance of everything we've discussed. I feel comfortable with the input, but if Commissioner Yosef Sai is going to be the one assisting in drafting the letter, I want to make sure he feels comfortable with it as well. So if it's helpful to kind of do a wrap up,
I might go home and write it tonight.
Great.
No,
Well,
I think
that's a great idea.
I think I have enough points to go off of it to where I don't think, like, I know what we talked about, and I
Okay.
can put that into Word format, no problem. I did have a question though, because now we're circulating something like that to the entire commission. Are we going to run into any Brown Act kind of situations of circulating it prior to the next meeting?
no. So it'll be circulated as informational.
Okay, perfect.
It won't be for
Okay.
input.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it can't, wait, so it can't be for input prior to the meeting? Is that what you said?
It won't be for input at all. The commission will not have an opportunity to provide any input or edits to the letter.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, if you're.
Well, can we
you're-
summarize
Yeah,
what-
you're going to stick to what we discussed.
Yeah,
I'm sure
so-
you're not going to go off.
Well,
And that's
so-
that's where I can help and
Right,
we'll
Kelly's gonna
tag
make
team and
sure.
make sure. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be perfect, but
Genuine.
just to give you guys assurance, it won't just be from him. It'll, there'll be some staff interaction to make sure it touches everything.
But to make my point, what I'm saying is that once and I know the answer to this, it's like once I draft it and I give it to you, it's, unless it's agendized, you can't talk about it. So as long as everyone's okay with it, again, like I'm going off of what we talked about, but as long as, you're comfortable with that, I just want to make that point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay. So we do need a motion to kind of just state that Commissioner Yosef Tsai would be drafting it with the assistance of staff. And then if you want to encapsulate kind of the discussion, or if you just want to say, you know, to draft a letter based on the discussion points from this evening,
Okay.
that should be okay.
Do you want me to do it? Should I do it? Okay, so I make a motion to have Commissioner Yosef Tsai draft a letter encapsulating what we discussed, hitting various points, including bringing up concerns about staff hours, meetings across departments, including consolidate, like the option to consolidate Historical Commission and Recreation and Parks Commission with both, which both fall under the same department. We'd also like to reference the savings, the staff hour savings we're gonna get under the ordinance that was just passed. I think that was an important point to make. And bring up the concern about how long the meetings might go if we consolidate 4 commissions. Let's see. Also, the concern about, I don't know if we want to include this, I'm probably messing up the motion, but about the Preservation Commission having 3 seats that have like specialty requirements of their members. We also did discuss having the commissions that are having trouble with quorum issues possibly combine as a recommendation. And amongst other things we discussed.
I second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hopefully that was good.
That's a long one.
I just wanted to make sure I included, there was more, but.
Just so I just want to make sure, is the direction that the name would stay the same? Rec and Parks?
The name, yeah, do we like the name public? I don't like public amenities.
Yeah, I don't really like it either.
It can remain. I mean, the Historical Society essentially just, I don't want to say just, I don't want to make it seem, belittle it, but they oversee the Historical Museum. And that's a facility that we already,
In a park.
it's part of our parks, it's part of our kind of portfolio of programming. So it's up to you guys. I just want to make sure that you didn't want to have any input on the naming of the combined.
I mean, I'd like to see remain the same name, Recreation and Parks.
Yeah, and I think that anything historical that comes up or that is, introduced, I think it's important to have somebody on the commission that specializes in that and is really plugging that, rather than have it be its own entity or part of the name, because like you said, it has mostly to do with facilities that fall under parks.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I'm willing to hear otherwise, but I don't,
Let's just add it to the name, Recreation, Parks, and Preservation.
Or historical.
Or historical, not
It's
present.
Oh, it's not
historical.
preservation, it's
No, it's
historical.
historical,
Yeah,
yeah.
not as jingly.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would definitely like to see it remain Recreation and Parks in the name. I think considering we are park poor, I just really want to hold on to, that name, and kind of it represents, that what we have is really important to us, and we really need to, utilize it to its full potential, I guess.
And I think most other cities have a Recreation and Parks or Parks and Recreation Commission.
Yeah.
They haven't dissolved that name
right.
in their other cities.
Yeah, even in the ones that only had like 3 commissions, they had a
Yeah.
a Parks and Recreation Commission.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
So,
Okay.
okay, let's see.
J3?
Yeah. Okay, So on to J3, which is receive and file volunteer and employee acknowledgement program application for Lila Omura. And then discuss and possible action regarding the commission's determination of whether to formally recognize Lila Omura for her volunteer service.
So I'll just provide a brief report on this. We did receive a nomination for Ms. Lila Mura. She is a city employee. She oversees and is integral in the city's homeless programming, homeless activities throughout the city. Her official title is the outreach, the housing navigator, I believe is her official title for the city. And so we received the nomination form for her. And as part of the volunteers program for you all, the subcommittee did review this nomination. They do believe that she is worthy of receiving a certificate from the commission. Now it's up to you all to review this and to formally determine whether or not she should in fact receive the certificate with her little surfboard that Judy received this evening. I do just want to mention here that while Lila is very well deserving for this award, she's actually one of the most wonderful people you'll ever meet. I want the commission to remain very focused that this volunteer acknowledgement program is for those who make an impact to the city's parks and green spaces. That's how it was written. Arguably, Lila does that through her homeless outreach because a lot of homeless issues do happen in the parks. And so she's in our parks and keeps them safe. So I certainly don't want to make it seem like she's not worthy of this award because of her role. I just want to remind, and I did with the subcommittee as well, I just want to make sure that this program remains focused on the parks and green spaces. So, yeah.
Again, not to sound, I mean, I've heard only wonderful things and she does incredible work, but does she receive money? Like, is she on the payroll for the city or is she just a volunteer?
No, she is on the payroll. She is a full-time employee of the city. And the way the volunteer program was developed is that the second component of it for employees is that it's for employees who go above and beyond their responsibilities.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so
it
this
can
is for
be-
the above and beyond stuff that she's not getting paid for. She'll come in early, she'll stay late, she'll do extra stuff to support her homeless outreach.
Okay, I thought it just had to be like strict volunteer, like unpaid.
Well, what she's being recognized for is that, but it's related to the time that she's employed by the city. She's just extending her time and basically volunteering extra hours.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the first employee recognition we've received. So I anticipate there to be some kind of questions as we navigate. And this is really only the third one we have as well. So, and as a reminder too, since it is a new program, if there's tweaks we need to make to it, by all means, we can make those as we go through. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys to determine whether we want to acknowledge her formally at an upcoming meeting. And let me know if you have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
Was it she just awarded something at city council?
She did. I know she was at a recent meeting. I don't know what the acknowledgement was for, but I do know that she received something.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did.
Just curious. Yeah.
I mean, does anyone else, I can give my input, but does anyone else have anything they want to
Please.
share? Okay. So considering she was just acknowledged by the city council, and we think it was acknowledging her service to the city, is that?
It was related to her work with the city.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
And some sort of like acknowledgement of the good work she's doing? Is
I
that-
believe so, yes.
It just wasn't an award, I guess.
I would have to, I can probably look it up if you have a moment to.
Yeah.
And I could look it up while you're speaking, but.
So I'm like somewhat inclined to defer to the subcommittee since they are tasked with discussing their candidates. And you shared that you had mentioned, reminding them about the fact that the volunteer should that we nominate should have something to do with recreation, making our park spaces better. I would be curious what they responded with. I'm sure they came up with a justification for nominating her, but they're not here.
I know.
I was, just to your point too, I think, was Lila the one that Commissioner Rowe had mentioned she was unavailable to make it to the last,
No, that was Judy.
was it Judy?
Judy
Okay.
wasn't available at the last meeting. That's why she was here this
Okay.
evening.
Got it.
And I just looked it up. Lila received a mayor's commendation for she actually received the 2024 Woman of the Year from California State Assembly member Elmer Suchi. So it was just the mayor's commendation of her receiving that other award.
I don't know. I'm like somewhat inclined to give this to someone else who hasn't been acknowledged. Like, you know, just thinking about all these volunteer baseball commissioners in the city and soccer people, and they're just holding it all together for like 3,000 kids that are playing soccer, and like they don't really get
I mean,
recognized,
I like
but-
your idea of deferring to the subcommittee because I didn't even know that, I mean, I didn't even know enough about it to know that they could be paid, but also be, so I feel like I don't know enough to speak to it. I feel like I probably should know, but I don't. So the subcommittee, I feel like, has really been the one spearheading this. So I'm happy to,
I actually didn't even know that it had to be the volunteer that we nominated had to, I thought it could be anyone who does any service for the city. So I didn't even know that it had to be specifically
Yeah.
of service to our parks and recreation.
There is one section of the policy that says it's for parks and green spaces. But then there's other parts that are a little more general. And so one of the things I was going to approach the subcommittee is if we can make some recommended updates to the policy to make that either one or the other. And we would bring some recommendations to you all to reconsider some edits to the program.
Thanks.
Is it possible to defer this to a meeting when we have some subcommittee members there?
Yeah, of course.
So they can outline the reasons?
Yeah, because the responses to me was just, yep, she's well-deserved. We think but it wasn't detailed bullet list of why. So to your point, yes, we could defer it to a future meeting when they're both present, or one.
Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to defer this item to recognize Lila O'Meara to our next meeting.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, did you second it?
I did.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, on to J4, which is the Commission Subcommittee Review and Project Update.
Okay, this is just our standing item and really an opportunity for any active subcommittee to provide an update to the commission on any work that's been done by the subcommittee since our last meeting. We do have our Facility User Subcommittee, Park Ranger Subcommittee, Volunteer Acknowledgement Program Subcommittee, and our Pickleball Subcommittee. So I will turn it over to you all to provide any updates that you may have.
Would you like to lead us off with our pickleball? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few items. I know, Kelly, I sent you an email about the damaged paddle saddle at Perry Park. Do you have an update on that?
I do. I was going to provide it to my director's report, but I'll do
okay.
it now. It's
Okay.
actually fitting. There was some damage that was done to the donated paddle saddle that was installed at Perry Park. We went ahead and actually purchased a replacement paddle saddle to put out there that's metal. We're hoping that that'll defer any future vandalism. As soon as we get that in, we will get it installed. But again, I do want to acknowledge and thank Susan Higgins for donating it. I'm saddened that it was vandalized, or broken. We don't know the circumstances, but accidentally broken. But yes, we are going to be replacing that.
Okay, great. And then I got the usage data that you sent so far. So we're just looking for that. Will we see that before it goes to council, or?
I I think it would be good for staff and the subcommittee to meet to kind of just go over kind of maybe a draft of the report. Again, it's still kind of in the development phase, so we don't want it to be shared too widespread. But yeah, we want to make sure that, and part of my director's report too was to let you all know that we're going to council in July to talk about Alta Vista specifically for that shared use concept on the tennis courts. So as part of that, we're doing some usage data at Alta Vista, and we shared a snippet of that with the subcommittee to make sure that that data is helpful based on what they're hearing from the community and that it kind of fits in some of the gaps that were of information that we need. So yeah, we'll reach out to you as we develop that report and make sure that it checks all the boxes of what you guys are hearing and what would be helpful.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to ask a question in regards to that. Is there going to be a place for the pickleball subcommittee to speak at the city council meeting, or is it just staff?
It's just the staff. They certainly can come and speak, but it is just a staff presentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for that meeting, since it was pushed out to July, does that mean that it's not going to make the budget cycle this year? Because I noticed,
That's a good question.
I noticed that community services went to council for funding to resurface the tennis courts, but there was nothing mentioned about the pending dual striping of the pickleball courts, and so I was a little confused on why would we go for funding request on that and then not mention the pickleball is still kind of pending.
Yeah, the timing just didn't align with having that pickleball discussion with council ahead of time. Really, in order for us to have included that in our budget request, we would have had to have had that discussion on Alta Vista with the city council months ago. But to your point, we did go to city council and request funding to resurface all 8 tennis courts. 6. Is there 6 or 8 tennis courts? 8, okay, sorry, I always get it wrong. All 8 tennis courts at Alta Vista. But of course, we would align that resurfacing following that discussion with council on the pickleball. We wouldn't resurface them for tennis, knowing that we potentially would have to resurface 2 of them with pickleball lines. So potentially some of that funding could be used towards the restriping. So to your point, Crystal, yes, the pickleball discussion is not part of the budget. And so if the council does decide to move forward with restriping, they would have to allocate some supplemental funding to add those pickleball lines on the tennis courts.
Okay. And then, I sent you an email about the strategic plan that we want to develop, asking if you could reach out to some of the other cities. And I don't know if you saw in there that Las Vegas got a $12 million grant from the Federal Bureau of Land Management to build a pickleball facility. So I don't know if you're familiar with that type of grant.
I'm not, and I saw the email. I apologize, I haven't had a chance to fully look through it. But we do have a grant writer with the city, so I was going to look through that and see if that's something we're even eligible for, and if so, I was going to forward it over to the grant writing team to see if that's something that they potentially could add to their
Because that could help fund the unfunded CIP for aviation.
aviation. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's all I have. Oh, I just wanted to see if there was an update on Franklin and DelPage Park, how they're going to put the new, they're going to do new striping there. Do you have an update on that?
I did hear from the Deputy Public Works Director, who's overseeing both of those projects, that DelPage, the concrete slab has been completely replaced, so it's ready for painting. I believe they're working with the contractor to get into their schedule, so I don't know how far out they're booking at the moment, but Public Works is working on that. And I believe Franklin Park is kind of on the same. The concrete there, I believe, is okay, so I don't think there needed to be any condition or repairs there to the conditions. But they're trying to get that on the same installation cycle as DelPage. So just trying to get all the projects aligned with that one vendor.
Okay. And then I noticed the fence at Perry Park was recommended not to move forward with that because of a space issue.
That was as part of a budget response report for the city council. We did do an analysis of that partial fence in between the 2 basketball courts. There simply is not enough space to put that in while also maintaining the required safety zone surrounding the court lines for the second pickleball court, the one in the center. So the staff's recommendation, which includes our risk management team, was to not install that fence unless that middle pickleball court was removed.
Okay, and then was any resurfacing going to be done on that?
No, one of the questions of that BRR was to consider the resurfacing, mostly that easterly basketball court, because there's a lot of scuff marks from the skateboarders. In order to get those scuffs out, there's no damage to it, it's just the coloring is off. We would have to fully resurface that whole area. So it would be pretty costly to do that.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to acknowledge that our volunteer acknowledgement program subcommittee is absent, and so we won't have an update from them. And the last one is the Park Ranger Subcommittee, and I am on that, and Commissioner Youssef Zai. Did you stay on that one? No. It's still in here. Okay. I thought you had.
Sorry about that. I'll
That's
get that
okay.
updated next month.
I was just, I don't think we've had any updates since our last meeting. We've not moved the needle on
Making it
that
formal.
topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be something
Yeah,
to
perhaps.
work on.
Yeah, I was going to say perhaps from now till our next commission meeting, maybe we have a quick call to kind of pick up to see if there's any additional city staff that we want to kind of, solicit some feedback from, and if there's anything further at that point. If not, then perhaps we can start working to formalizing, a recommendation for the commission.
Okay, great. I agree. Okay, on to J5, which is staff liaison report.
Okay, I do have a number of updates and responsive reports to share. The first one, last month, Commissioner McCauley asked for an update on the Alta Vista speed cushions. I know he's not here this evening, but still want to share. That project, the site survey is currently being conducted for that location, which will obviously inform the aspects of the design. So they're making progress on it. It certainly goes back to staff resources and just being stretched really thin on a number of projects, but they are moving forward with getting that, at least in the design phase. At the last meeting, Chair Lang inquired about increasing the frequency of the service to the restrooms at Alta Vista. Did reach out to Public Works team to see if there's possibility there. They're looking at budget to see, because it's a combo of both staff resources as well as resources for any vendor who helps to service that. They are looking to see what's possible, especially as we go into soccer season here in a few months. I know that there's a lot of baseball and softball tournaments going on now, so they're looking into it to seeing what's possible. So just want to let you know that that's moving forward. On to some more kind of fun topics. Just wanted to kind of celebrate the reopening of Seaside Lagoon. Went off without a hitch. Opened Saturday, May 25th. It is open daily from 10 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. Michelle and her team have really done a lot to get that up and running again, so we're really excited to get into our summer season with that. Want to mention again, I believe it was mentioned at the last meeting, but if not, want to make sure it's mentioned out there that it will be open on July 4th all day. Well, not all day, but it will be open daytime from 12 to 7:30, and that the full lagoon will be open at that time. The lagoon will close for anyone incoming at 7:30, and everyone will have to remain that's in there on the sand from 7:30 to 10. So we will keep it open extended hours for viewing of the fireworks show. We will reopen the gates at 8 p.m. for anyone that didn't come to the lagoon that day can come in, and if there's space, they can come and sit on the sand only. So that basically the water will close at 7:30 is really the main change there. And then we do expect the fireworks show to be around 9 p.m. and then the lagoon will stay open till 10. For our Senior and Family Services Division, the upcoming, we do have our senior dance, which is in collaboration with the Redondo Beach Chamber. We're really excited for this event. I know a lot of seniors are really excited. That's scheduled for Thursday, June 20th from 4:30 to 7:30 at the Veterans Senior Center. So we're going to hopefully take lots of pictures, and maybe we'll share some at an upcoming meeting with you all. I do just want to highlight that we have Michelle has really done a lot of work to build the Senior and Family Services Division within our Recreation Division. And we have some really exciting advances in programming that are coming through. And so this is a special one because it's in collaboration with the Chamber, but the team is really putting some creative juices together and adding some additional programs to that area. So really excited for that. Kind of my usual plug that we're constantly hiring for part-time positions. Our summer, just because of the time that it takes to get someone cleared for employment, summer positions might be a little more difficult to get at this point, but we're always accepting applications. So if you know anyone that's interested for any part-time position after school, summer, or even our seasonal camps, possibly even Seaside Lagoon, please feel free to send them to the city website to apply for that. And then just a few more. Our summer camps are in full swing. A lot of them are at capacity already, which is really exciting, but there are some that do have some space left. So if you know anyone who does need care or just wants their child to participate in a program, please have them go to our city website, and all of our activities are on there and they can register online. Our summer classes, not to be confused with our summer camps, but our regular seasonal classes that take place, those are scheduled to start next week. There is obviously still time to register, and our summer class guide is also online. So we have 2 guides online. One is our summer camps, and then one is our summer classes. Want to celebrate another area of our team that for Wilderness Park, we have our family camp night is scheduled for overnight from June 22nd to 23rd. And we're excited that that event has been sold out. So a lot of promotional push went towards that, and we're happy to see that event at capacity. We do have some senior center open houses coming up throughout July. The first one will be scheduled on Wednesday, July 10th from 10 to noon. So just since we won't see you before then, I just wanted to mention that if anyone would like to come out for that. And then the final thing is I just wanted to give a very high level informational piece of items that are upcoming on the council agenda in July that we're anticipating taking to council. Obviously, things can change pretty quickly, but we are targeting for July to have the pickleball discussion. We are also going to bring an update to the council regarding updates to the senior lunch program, if you remember talking about that probably a year or so ago. And then we are also in July going to bring a proclamation to the City Council for Parks and Rec Month, which officially is July of every year. So that's through the National Recreation and Parks Association. They do an annual celebration of Parks and Recreation. And so we'll be doing that in July on upcoming City Council agendas. So just want to mention that in case you want to keep an eye out for those. And that concludes all of the director's report items. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. On to K, which is member items and referrals to staff.
I just have a question about getting a little information about the timeline for Dominguez Park, and just sort of what the status is.
Yeah, so construction is certainly moving forward. They're doing a lot of the grading and getting the site prepped for installation. My understanding is that the equipment will be ready within the next month or so, and they're hoping to get the park opened September, maybe early October at the latest, but we're definitely getting close to seeing some really exciting progress down there.
Is there any plan to do like a ribbon cutting, or what do you guys do?
We certainly would do a ribbon cutting. That's a very exciting project. So as we get closer to knowing what that final timeline will look like, we'll start developing the date and information for that.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I'm curious about Seaside Lagoon. I know we talked about that coming back or coming here.
Yeah, last I heard, I have checked with the waterfront department every month to see if they want to add themselves to the agenda. They've had some delays on their part with the project, so it's kind of on a month-to-month basis. As of right now, I do have it tentatively scheduled for next month, but we'll see. I usually check in with them about a week prior just to see if they're ready. So it is still on our tentative discussion item list, but I don't have a firm date of when that will be.
So when they come, because they did bring it up last night at city council, and I can't tell if they're still open to feedback or if the ball's rolling and they're just telling us what they're doing, or if they want to hear what we think.
I think, well, the presentation, my understanding is it will be kind of a status update to say, this is all we've done. This is where we are as far as the design. Let us know if you have any input or feedback on what this is. The presentation will not be very detailed. It's not going to be down to the core functions of each furniture piece. It's really just, this is kind of the direction we're going. That will all be encapsulated in the final presentation to the city council, which will be in a month or two after they bring it to you guys here. So there's still time to provide input, but it's not early enough in the stages where your input is probably going to be included in the final plan. It will probably just be more included in as an input item for the council to consider when they're looking at that. I don't know what phase design it will be, but it won't be included most likely in that final design. But the input can be, which means it can still be incorporated.
They're going to present a design, and there's still opportunity for changes to that design.
Yes, that's much better stated than how yes, my roundabout way, yes.
I was like, so we can tell them what we think, but it doesn't matter.
No, not at all. No, there's still
point I made earlier, right?
There's still
Decisions are
time.
made, and here we are.
Sorry, I'm talking in circles
No, that's
over
okay.
here.
It was confusing. Last night I was thinking it was supposed to come to us, but then it
I just didn't want you to think that your input was, and I guess there's a possibility, but I can't imagine an opportunity where your input directly would be updated in that final design, because that would take a lot of consultant work to update the design depending on what it is. And that's where I just think it might be more of a high level. This is their additional input. If you want us to include it in the absolute final design, they could do that at the council level.
What would we do? Would you send our recommendations up to the council? Or how would they, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it'll be part of that final presentation because the council hasn't seen it at all. So part of that presentation included in the report would be the recommendations that you guys provide.
And so at this point, what those consultants what are they like? They're not architects, or who's coming up with the design? What are you referring to them as?
I don't remember. Do you know the details of the team?
It is a firm that has a plethora of different types of architects and engineers that are actually coming up with the design. They've gotten a lot of community feedback, so they've done workshops with community members at the library, at the farmers markets. They've set up at different locations. I think they've done 4 community outreach.
Yeah, they did say they were going to be at the farmer's market coming up. So I get, right? So they're still taking community feedback.
And that's where I'm saying they've designed something, but it's not finalized enough to where it cannot be incorporated into the ultimate final design that will be directed by council.
So where did they come up with the ideas that they're running with currently? Was that from council, or was that from Recreation and Parks Department? Like who provided like the seed idea?
So it's been
their
workshopped with a group of community members and staff members. So there's a committee that's met several times. It's been a while since we've met, because at this point it's at the community phase where they're trying to collect data from the community of what they would like to see added. So the conceptual portion of it that has been built out so far was based on select community members that were invited to be a part of this committee.
When you say community members and select community members, where did you find them, and how did you find them?
The waterfront department would be able to answer that question directly.
So
but for example, our current mayor was part of this committee prior to becoming the mayor. And then there was, people that are involved in the waterfront, because it wasn't just Seaside Lagoon, it's like what's going on in the whole waterfront boardwalk area
Yeah.
as well. So then, key business owners like Quality Seafood, the Beach Life owner, and then there was 2 commissioners from the waterfront. And I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was quite a few people that were involved. But there was a parent from an elementary school and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually what I was looking for, is someone that, because it's mostly used by children right now. So all those other people are not probably using it for the pool or situation or the slides and things. So
And I
Is
was
that-
very much a part of those conversations
Okay.
and sharing what kind of demographic we have that attend and use the lagoon during public use, and also voiced our department's concerns, safety-wise, what our needs would be for lifeguard operations, event operations, and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that was my concern, because I did hear that they were looking for community input at like the farmers market and things, but it felt like in order for us to be involved, we had to kind of go to the farmers market, I guess, or because no one really came to our meeting and brought it up at all.
Yeah, and I know that I attended the workshop at the library, and it was pretty well attended, and they did breakout sessions where they collected feedback and people shared. And so I thought that was really helpful. So hopefully that's a similar presentation that you guys will receive.
Okay. Okay.
I had one quick question too. I just would like some clarification about this. So at Dale Page Park, do you know if there's specific signage for e-bikes particularly through the park?
I don't know.
So
I don't know at the moment what signage.
So I live in North Redondo in District 5, and I walk that walking path in between Artesia and Robinson like clockwork. And, I walk to Dale Page Park every single day. Like, it's walking distance, and every single time I've been walking through, someone beelines through the park on an e-bike across Robinson onto the walking path and just zips down there. Now, my understanding is that, a lot of kids commute to school on the walking path. So, there's a lot of e-bike traffic there. But cutting through Dale Page Park, it's already kind of a narrow park in general, and the concrete area is not, it's like half the park's length. So there's already a condensed amount of people there, a lot of kids in strollers. Like, I've walked my son in his bassinet through there, and we've gotten super close to getting clipped multiple times by e-bikers that just zip across Robinson onto the walking path. So, obviously, the e-bike situation is kind of a contentious thing in general, but through our park space, I just want to kind of understand, do we have specific signages for e-bikes in the parks? Is it the city's position to allow them temporarily? I know a lot of times we have no skateboarding, no bicycling, but is there any kind of direction to having specific signages for e-bikes?
I haven't heard that there is anything specifically being targeted by way of signage in the parks for e-bikes, but I can check with our police department. I know that they have a team that's really been focused on e-bikes throughout the city, and I can check with them to see what their what their position is with that, and maybe if there is the potential for some future signage opportunities. I don't know if that's the case or not, so I would feel more comfortable speaking to them first and then sharing that information
Okay.
at a future meeting.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Sure,
And again, it's just because Dale Page Park is so narrow anyway, and there's a sandbox. So a lot of times kids run between the sandbox to the bench area, and the bench area is on the pavement, and it's just zipping by. And again, I personally have had at least 3 instances in the last maybe 2 weeks where zipping through. And again, I understand on the walking path, there's a bike path within the walking path between Robinson and Artesia, but through the park to cut it's getting kind of out of hand, and I just kind of want to see if the city has a position about signage specifically to e-bikes. I don't know if there's any other issues that you guys get with, I don't know if that's for code enforcement or the police department, but of people riding e-bikes through our park spaces. So I just want to get some clarification on that.
Sure, no problem.
Anything else? No. Okay, and so that brings us to our adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.